Aging is often described as inevitable. Sure, the number is, but how you look, how you feel, your inner age, those are not. In fact, over the past decade, research has uncovered a powerful connection between the gut microbiome, chronic inflammation, and the aging process itself. In this video, I'll share how the gut changes as we age, why those changes matter for inflammation and immune health, and most importantly, 3 science-backed strategies shown in human studies to reduce inflammation and slow biological aging by targeting the gut. I'm Dr. Bulsiewicz, gastroenterologist and gut health expert, and I'm here to help you understand aging and how it's connected to inflammation. And to understand inflammation, we need to start in the gut. Aging isn't just the accumulation of birthdays. From a biological perspective, aging is closely linked to chronic low-grade inflammation, a process scientists are now calling inflammaging. This isn't the helpful inflammation you get when you cut your finger or you fight an infection. This is quieter, persistent, systemic. It often shows up as things that people don't immediately label as inflammation. Things like ongoing fatigue, brain fog, achy joints, digestive discomfort, poor sleep, and even slower recovery. It can look like insulin resistance creeping in, or blood pressure slowly rising, or inflammatory markers that have been trending up year after year without any single dramatic event. Because it's subtle, it's easy to normalize or act like it's inevitable. People assume it's just stress or just aging, when in reality, it's inflammation running quietly in the background. And over time, chronic inflammation damages tissues. It disrupts your metabolism, it accelerates immune dysfunction, and it is strongly linked to cardiovascular disease, to type 2 diabetes, to neurodegenerative disease like Alzheimer's, to frailty, and to the loss of muscle mass. For a long time, we treated inflammation as a downstream effect of aging, but increasingly, the science suggests the opposite. Inflammation is a driver of aging. So where is it coming from? The gut is not just a digestive tube. It is a major immune organ. It's a signaling hub for the rest of the body, and it's the home to trillions of microbes that help to regulate inflammation. Your gut microbiome plays a central role in training the immune system, maintaining the gut barrier, and even producing anti-inflammatory compounds. But the gut microbiome is not static. As we age, large population studies show consistent shifts in the microbiome, reduced microbial diversity, a loss of the beneficial fiber-fermenting microbes, the increased abundance of pro-inflammatory species that frankly we don't want, a declining production of the anti-inflammatory short-chain fatty acids, particularly butyrate, the stuff we do want. These changes matter profoundly because short-chain fatty acids are not metabolic waste. They are potent anti-inflammatory signaling molecules. They strengthen the gut barrier, regulate immune tolerance. They suppress excessive inflammation, and when they decline, inflammation rises, and that sets the stage for one of the most important mechanisms in aging. You see, your intestinal lining is literally only 1 cell layer thick. Its job is to let nutrients through while keeping bacteria and bacterial toxins out of the bloodstream. And as we age, multiple lines of human evidence suggest that this barrier, unfortunately, it becomes vulnerable. For example, in a human study, researchers compared healthy young adults with healthy older adults, and they measured zonulin, which is a biomarker commonly used as an indicator of intestinal permeability. Older adults had significantly higher zonulin, and critically, zonulin levels were positively associated with inflammatory cytokines like IL-6 and TNF-alpha. In other words, the gut barrier was becoming leakier, and this was leading to systemic inflammation. To be precise, not every study using direct tests like zonulin has shown increased permeability with age alone. But gut barrier dysfunction becomes much more likely when aging overlaps with inflammatory or metabolic stress. These, unfortunately, are conditions that they become increasingly more common as we age. And this helps to explain how gut dysfunction and inflammation begin reinforcing one another over time. Here's where the problem compounds. Because aging alters the microbiome weakens the gut barrier, inflammation increases, inflammation further damages the microbiome. This is a self-reinforcing cycle that accelerates immune exhaustion, metabolic dysfunction, muscle loss, and cognitive decline. And importantly, this cycle doesn't begin in old age. It often starts decades earlier, which brings us to the most important point of all. If this process is driven by the microbiome, then the good news is it is at least partially modifiable. And that doesn't mean that there's a single fix or a magic bullet, but across human research, a few strategies consistently show up. Approaches that nourish the beneficial microbes, that protect the gut barrier, and that calm immune overactivation. These are 3 evidence-based ways to reduce chronic inflammation and support healthier aging by targeting the gut. The strongest and most consistent intervention that we have is feeding the beneficial microbes. And dietary fiber is the primary fuel source for gut bacteria because when microbes ferment fiber, they produce short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, acetate, and propionate. These are molecules that directly regulate inflammation and immune balance. In a controlled human feeding study, researchers showed that specific dietary fibers selectively reshaped the microbiome and increased short-chain fatty acid production in a dose and structure dependent manner. This was directly linking fiber intake to the metabolism of these microbes and to inflammatory signaling. This more focused study becomes more powerful when you look at a population level and we see the same signal. In an analysis of 5,674 US adults, higher dietary fiber intake was associated with longer telomere length, a commonly used marker for biological aging. Just 1 gram of fiber per 1,000 calories lowered biological age by about 6 months. This doesn't mean that fiber reverses aging, but it does suggest higher fiber intake tracks with biological patterns associated with slower aging. So you should aim to increase your fiber intake. No matter where you stand, the evidence suggests you slow aging by adding fiber. Diet is foundational, but it's not the only lever. Another powerful regulator of the gut immune system has actually nothing to do with food and everything to do with timing. One of the most underappreciated regulators of the gut immune system is sleep and circadian alignment. A landmark study from an Israeli research group demonstrated that circadian rhythms directly shape the gut microbiome. When normal sleep-wake cycles are disrupted, microbial rhythms become disorganized, leading to impaired gut barrier function, increasing inflammatory signaling, and ultimately there's metabolic dysfunction. What's important here is the mechanism. Circadian disruption didn't just affect hormones or behavior, it reprogrammed the microbiome and increased inflammation. This provides a biological explanation for how sleep can influence immune aging through the gut. And when we zoom out to human population data, we see the downstream consequences of this disruption. In older adults, poor sleep efficiency and short sleep duration are consistently associated with higher levels of inflammatory cytokines, particularly IL-6, which is one of the core drivers of that concept scientists are now talking about, inflammaging. Elevated IL-6 in older adults is strongly linked to frailty, functional decline, and increased mortality. Taken together, these findings suggest that sleep is not just restorative, it is regulatory. By maintaining circadian alignment, we may help preserve microbiome rhythms, protect the gut barrier, and reduce chronic immune activation as we age. In other words, sleep becomes an indirect but powerful way to support the aging microbiome and slow inflammatory aging. Aim for both consistency and sufficiency of sleep. It's that important. Now, there's one more layer to this that often gets overlooked. The gut and the immune system are in constant communication with the nervous system. Human studies show that individuals with higher parasympathetic tone, which can be measured by heart rate variability or HRV, tend to have greater gut microbial diversity and a more favorable microbial profile. Basically, what this says is that you want a high HRV because that's going to be reflected with a healthier gut microbiome. Conversely, lower HRV is associated with inflammation, frailty, and mortality. Heart rate variability does tend to get worse with age, but you are not required to accept that. You can make choices and build habits that are designed to increase your HRV. Practices that promote parasympathetic activation and increase heart rate variability include slow diaphragmatic breathing, prayer, meditation, sauna, and zone 2 cardio. You have options and they're all wonderful. Now, you may be sitting there wondering how to take this science and actually live it consistently. And the truth is, that's the question behind my book, Plant Powered Plus. It's built around the idea that small, repeatable habits that have been rooted in really solid science can meaningfully and powerfully support the gut, the immune system. Everything that we discussed today is in there, in even more detail, along with many more evidence-based tools, recipes, and an entire 3-phase protocol to help you support your gut microbiome and reduce chronic inflammation. But the bigger point of this entire message today goes beyond any single book or protocol. It's about how we think about aging itself. One of the most harmful myths about aging is that decline is unavoidable. The science tells a different story. While we can't stop time, we can influence how our bodies respond to it. There are clear levers we can pull to support the gut microbiome, to reduce chronic inflammation, and to shift the trajectory of biological aging. Your chronological age will change. That part is inevitable. But your energy, your strength, your clarity of mind, your resilience are not fixed. They are responsive. And at any age, they can improve. Aging is not just something that happens to you. It's something you participate in every day, something you have agency over. And the opportunity is there for you in the gut to take control of it. If this video made you think differently about aging or your microbiome, which I hope it did, give it a like and share it with a friend or a family member. And for more videos and podcasts about the gut microbiome and your health, subscribe to the channel. I'm Dr. B, and I'll see you in the next video.